Hello and welcome to the Dart Show. Now, as the year comes to an end, we see the conclusion of some major tournaments. We're seeing some fresh faces rise up the rankings, with some familiar names really starting to crumble under pressure. And with a World Championship round the corner, it really is all to play for. Now, as ever, we've been keeping up to date with all the action. It's a busy show today. Here's what's on the way. We're in Wolverhampton this month for the bwin Grand Slam of Darts.
It was a difficult tournament this time. I had to play really well.
We also look back on the first German Darts Masters in Dusseldorf.
Peter Snakebite White finally wins a World Series event.
Michael van Gerwen claims a third straight Unibet European Championship title in Belgium.
And Michael van Gerwen is crowned the King of Europe yet again.
The Ladbrokes World Series of Darts finals in Glasgow conclude the year's global events.
Van Gerwen has won once more.
The stars of the future battle for places in the World Youth Championship final. I'm joined by Dan and Paul. Welcome to the show, guys. Now let's rewind back to the World Series in Dusseldorf, where Peter Wright took the title, but we'll talk about that in a moment's time. But big names to the new edition on the calendar in Germany.
Yeah, it was a late addition to the calendar. It wasn't scheduled at the start of the year, but I think it was a big success in Dusseldorf, and it's something that Germany has been crying out for. Thousands of fans turn up month after month on the Euro Tour. Thousands turned up again for this World Series event. And it's not just about the fans and growing the game amongst supporters, it's about giving the opportunities to the players. Somebody like Martin Schindler, Germany's #2, hasn't had many chances to get on a big stage on TV, and he had that opportunity in Dusseldorf, although, to be fair, pride of place amongst the qualifiers actually went to an Austrian in Mensur Sullivan.
Yeah, justifiably so. I think Mensur's addition to the event definitely brought something to it, and he played very well. But I like the fact that Phil Taylor and Gary Anderson were there, because Gary, not playing Euro Tour, he finally was in front of a German audience. And Phil Taylor, of course, who has possibly played his last professional game on a German stage. He nearly got to the end of the tournament, but not quite. But it was great to see Phil on that stage.
Yeah, the crowd absolutely loved him there as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and I think they understood the fact that this possibly was the last time, and they were taking it in.
Yeah. Well, one man that has really made his mark on the World Series is Daryl Gurney. We caught up with him in Dusseldorf.
I love Dusseldorf. It's really nice. I've been here, it was 2 years ago whenever we last had the European Tour. It's madness to think that I was doing video from the age of 15. And then stayed with the video for 10 years. Played Lakeside twice, 2009, 2010. It was really a dream for me, because as a dart player, you think that the best you're going to be is a good pub player, shall we say. But to make it to Lakeside was a dream, and then I had the opportunity to join the PDC. And then moving on from there, I played well, got better in the Pro Tours away from TV. Semi-final of the UK Open, got beat by the winner, Peter Wright. Playing well in Europeans, playing well in Pro Tours, and then the match play came, got to another semi-final, and beat by Peter again. Vegas was unbelievable for me. I've never had a crowd, and should it be an exhibition or a tournament, that the crowd was really actually shouting for me. It was the best atmosphere. To be honest, it's still a shock to me. I still don't believe I won it. I haven't really had time for that to sink in. Still don't believe it. I keep on telling everybody it's all lies, and one of these days somebody's going to wake me up and go, yeah, that was a dream, what are you going on about? But then I can go down and go in, look at the trophy, I know then that it's a wee bit real. And I try my best every single time, and sometimes you'll run into a person that's informed, and it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to beat you, because the PDC is just it's the way it is. It's ruthless. We've got ruthless players, and if they get a half a chance, and they'll beat you. I'd like to do well in every tournament, especially the Worlds. I'd like to just try and improve from the previous year. So if I can do something similar to last year and maybe improve one more game, I'll be happy. But if I go all the way, I'll be another dream come true. That will be the ultimate dream.
Now, maybe not Daryl Gurney's best tournament in Germany. He was knocked out by Phil Taylor in the quarterfinals, but this year has been a turnaround year for him.
Yeah, it's been absolutely stupendous for Daryl Gurney. He's gone from 21 in the world rankings up to number 4, and he looks like a number 4 in the world rankings. Semi-finals of the UK Open, semi-finals on the match play, obviously winning the Grand Prix. He is always there or thereabouts. And all right, he's still looking for a big win over MVG, but he's got a good record against Gary Anderson. He's got a great record against Peter Wright lately, although obviously it was snakebite who went on and claimed the title in Dusseldorf. Yeah,
absolutely. Peter was fortuitous at the start of the event where he could have been eliminated, but
very easily as well.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, sometimes you've got to ride your luck, and Peter has learned, especially over the course of the 2017 season on the Euro Tour, that sometimes you take that luck and you run with it. He has won so many European tours this year that he's used that experience and got over the line this time, but he, in the final, was the best player. It's as simple as that. And Peter Wright's got another TV title to add to that UK Open.
Now, one man we haven't even mentioned yet is world number 1 Michael van Gerwen, who had to pull out of the event due to injury.
Yeah, I mean, he pulled out after his first round win against Martin Schindler, and I know he'll be frustrated about it. It's the second time we've seen him this year where he hasn't been able to play a tournament at the UK Open. Of course, Peter Wright won that too. But the good thing about it is that Michael van Gerwen has, at least on both occasions, bounced back straight away. He's not been out for very long, and he's come back and just carried on winning. So I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about at the moment. But injuries can be a big problem in a very busy schedule. And, you know, you've had injuries. Jelle Klaasen has struggled. Kim Huybrechts has struggled. It is a factor for professional players.
It is these days with such a packed schedule, but it's one of the things that you give the players all of the tournaments that they want to play, but it can be taken away with injuries. Obviously, I've had my own injuries and I've taken up to 6 weeks off at a time just to try and reset myself. However, for someone like Jelle Klaasen, for instance, when his wrist problems were getting really bad, he was selected for the Premier League, and then he decided to play the whole thing and it made it worse. He couldn't wait to get on the operating table at the end of May. Kim Huybrechts, now, if he has a good end to this season, which is very possible, he may have to make some sort of decision like that too, because he's in line for another spot if he plays well, but he's got real problems with his right arm. So what's he going to do?
And with Premier League spots up for grabs, it's all to play for right now. Yeah,
it's a very important part of the season. You've got a lot of big tournaments, and there are spots up for grabs in the Premier League. I think some are nailed on. I think we'll definitely see Gurney there. There are some which are completely nailed on. You know, Michael van Gerwen, Gary Anderson. But James Wade, Adrian Lewis, they're not certainties. And there are other players who could step up. I mean, look, Kyle Anderson, he could be one. Joe Cullen is winning titles. Rob Cross. I mean, there are plenty of players who could step up, do something special, and find themselves in that select group.
Yeah, Rob Cross is a very interesting one for me, because a lot of people have asked me personally, is he going to get in the Premier League? Well, if he ends the year and he's maybe top 12 in the world after his first season, you might think, well, he's got to be in there. But I think it's too soon for him. He's got to have 2 years under his belt before he gets in there. It will be too soon for me. But other players do have legitimate shots. Cullen and Kyle Anderson, for me, are real potentials, but they're going to have great World Championships for me. They're going to have to go further than ever before. But the thing about Lewis and Wade, it's just different, isn't it? You know, you expect them to be there over the last 10 years, but now, are they good enough to be in the Premier League right now? No, they're not. But they still have an opportunity to prove that they will be there. So there's plenty of tournaments to go to see whether they will.
Yeah, and players can certainly prove their worth, because later on in the show, we're going to be talking about the Grand Slam in Wolverhampton, but we'll see you after the break. Welcome back to the Dart Show. Now, coming up, we're going to be in Wolverhampton for the Grand Slam, but we've just seen the conclusion of the European Championship, which is a big event in its own right, but it is a culmination of 12 events throughout the year. Yeah, so the Euro Tour, which I always talk about, massive events, huge crowds all the way through the year, all over Europe, but the European Championship is what they're all playing to get to, and those 12 events determine the 32-man field and the seeded players, and we've seen the emergence of some real stars. Krzysztof Ratajski, who we've talked about before. Rob Cross has been a serious contender, made a couple of finals. Ultimately, though, it was the top seed, Michael van Gerwen, who went on and won it for a 4th consecutive year, equalling Phil Taylor's record. But he was involved in possibly the game of the year in the semi-finals on the way to that title, wasn't he?
Yeah, he took the words out of my mouth. Game of the year by far for me. There have been some crackers, but this one really stood out because it was in the deep part of a tournament. Kyle Anderson, 2 darts, 2 very costly darts. which were missed to take Michael Van Gerwen out, but ultimately he was good enough to get over the line MVG to take the title again. You could see how relieved he was after that semi-final to win that match, but Kyle, few misses, we'll see what he's made of in the next couple of months to see whether he could potentially get that back.
Well, 9 darter as well from Kyle Anderson. Just don't forget the perfect leg. But I did want to ask you, those 2 darts from Kyle Anderson to beat the world #1 and make a major final, can you think of more expensive misses? Because if he'd made the final, not only has he got a chance of the 100 grand first prize, it gets him in the Grand Slam. I think it might have got him in the Premier League. It was good enough for Kim Huybrechts. He beat the world #1 through a 9 darter in the quarterfinals of the Grand Slam, and that was enough to get in the Premier League. It could cost tens of thousands of pounds, those missed darts for Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking it might have cost him about 6 figures. But if he makes that final, I think he's nailed on Premier League. I still think he's got a great shout if he can play well over the next couple of months, but that would have guaranteed it for me. He's still on that mantelpiece, and people still want to take him out, Kyle, but it's up to him now to get there. The 9 darter was fantastic. Let's just see how
and Michael
brilliant
Van
that was.
Gerwen's face when he got the 9 darter as well.
Yeah, he wasn't happy.
No, he wasn't
happy.
no.
But, you know, he had a game to win. He knew he was in a game. That was the biggest compliment that Michael Van Gerwen could give him. He had to knuckle down and get through that game. Somehow he managed it. And he did manage in the final as well against Rob Cross. And
Who we haven't even mentioned yet,
well,
have we?
look,
Runner-up.
it kept being the question thrown at Rob Cross. Yes, you've won these floor titles. Can you do it on the telly? I think he's answered it. He's made a major final, and he wasn't that far away from MVG. So, yes, he's the real deal. I'm convinced he's the real deal, and we're going to see a lot more from him. He could win things. Even Van Gerwen said so himself.
Well, let's hear now from the winner and runner-up, Michael Van Gerwen and Rob Cross.
And Michael Van Gerwen is crowned the King of Europe yet again. 4 consecutive European titles. Rob Cross was absolutely terrific.
I think I had to work really hard for it, especially in the semi-final, also the final. But yeah, I got away there in the semi-final, and it's nice to win also games like that. I don't come in that position a lot of times, but I think I did the right things at the right moment. And unfortunately for him, he missed 2 darts for the match, but. Yeah, who cares? You still have to win. You still have to throw a double, and I think I had a fantastic 76 finish in the for the game in the semi-final, and yeah, the final I played really well.
You get a lot of critics, and they all said like, can't play on TV, can't do this, can't do that, and it's only been short term at the minute. It's nice to prove them wrong. To come out and play, I had 1 flat session there, and it cost me the match. But I learned from that. I'll get better. And going forward, I'm happy with my progress. It's going well, and it's probably going faster than what I expect it to, so it's never that bad.
Kyle Anderson and Rob Cross, 2 players there who could be serious rivals and contenders for yours for quite some time to come, couldn't they?
Rivals is a big word, but I count the Raymonds and the Gary Andersons and the Phil Taylors as rivals. It's a bit too soon to say, but they're really good players, and you need to watch out for them because you never know what they can do in the future.
Michael is phenomenal, and a lot of respect for him really for what he's doing at the minute. I think going forward, it's a role model really. What you want to be like, you want to dominate like him, and you want to bully like him in games like he does. So it's something to build towards, and something, it's just a little platform there now, and try and kick on from this.
It must feel good to get back to winning ways after a couple of disappointments in other TV majors recently.
Yeah, of course. Since the birth of my daughter Zoe, this is the first big one I won, and yeah, really pleased for that. Yeah, of course I won already 3 Euro tours, but this is now a big one, and after a few earlier defeats in them tournaments, you need to stand up and you need to fight for your place, and if you want to hold a trophy in the end. I think I did exactly that.
Interestingly, Michael Van Gerwen says his biggest rivals are Anderson, Barney and Taylor, but with performances like that from Kyle Anderson and Rob Cross, surely you should start to be fearing those guys as well.
I think he will. They've got the opportunity to get that respect, but you've got to earn that respect. I don't think it's a coincidence that Anderson, Barney, Taylor are the ones that have beaten Michael Van Gerwen in big TV games. He didn't even mention Peter Wright there, and Peter Wright's come close but hasn't quite got over the line. But it is about making the world #1 respect you, and Kyle Anderson and Rob Cross could do that. They've just got to keep playing like they are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from an ability perspective, Rob Cross and Kyle Anderson are two of maybe 3 or 4 players who are getting closer to Michael van Gerwen. But from a psychological perspective, I really do see Michael looking back in time as opposed to looking forward, because I see Anderson, Taylor and Barney as maybe being inside Michael van Gerwen's head a little bit. He has had success against those guys, but he still finds it harder to beat them. But the guys who are coming now, the Crosses, the Andersons, the Cullens, he's got the mental edge over those guys. So he's the one that's sandwiched in the middle of 2 generations. This is his time, and he's able to get the job done now, but he still sees the older guys as the bigger threats.
Well, time now for Paul's darts tutorial. Now, in recent months, he's been teaching us what to do at the Oche, but today he's going to teach us what not to do.
Over the last few months, we've been talking about how to get you better as a darts player, but now we want to focus on what not to do. When you're scoring, sometimes you will block the treble 20 bed like we've done here. The best advice I can give you is to utilise the board a little bit better. Don't stay on a segment that is blocked. You're only going to see half of that bed. Utilise the treble 18, the treble 19, the treble 17 or other parts of the board to leave yourself a finish. In order for darts to count, you've got to retrieve them from the board, not from the floor. The last thing you want to do is gamble on the 180 by hitting this dart here, because if this happens, that's not going to count. The best example of this was Kyle Anderson at the recent European Darts Championship, where he was playing Michael van Gerwen. He had 2 darts in the treble 20 and one of them very, very precarious. He gambled, but the dart did not fall out, but on a lot of other occasions it may have done that.
Risky, very risky.
Don't gamble. Make sure that all 3 darts count for yourself at all times. My final don't of the day is this. Focus on your own game, do what you can do, don't worry about the other guy, just get on with it. You affect your own offence in darts. There is no defence in darts. The most important example of this over the last few years has been the game between Corey Cadby and Gerwyn Price. They got embroiled in a war.
Oh! We'll get the celebration here to go through to the next round. Well, that was a cursory handshake, wasn't it?
Yes, Gerwyn won in the end, but everybody was talking about the attitude. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about.
Thanks for that, Paul. Now join us after the break. We'll be talking about the World Series finals and we'll be in Wolverhampton for the Grand Slam. We'll see you in a few minutes.
He's making some serious...
He's definitely one to look out for. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this kid over the next few years. I'm a big fan of him. I think his temperament is brilliant, but his talent is even better. But ultimately, MVG against Gary never disappoints us. It's always good because Gary always steps up, no matter how he's feeling, against Michael. He just loves playing against him. Now, he admitted that he was a little bit ring rusty, and we did see bits of that, but he still brought a great game to MVG, but MVG was ultimately the better player.
Who also steps up every time. He's got that extra gear, hasn't he?
They do. I mean, they love playing against each other and there's no antics. They just get on and play their game, and when those two really get into the groove, they give us fireworks. I mean, remember Dubai at the start of the year where they both averaged 110 outside in the wind. It was ridiculous stuff. But once again, MVG wins a World Series of Darts title 3 years in a row now. So, like the European Championship, sometimes you just can't be stopped in these events.
Well, let's hear from our winner then, Michael van Gerwen.
Is it a here endeth the match? Double 18. It does, and Van Gerwen has won once more.
It's always a pleasure to play Gary Anderson in the final. You know what you get, you know what you have to do. Is play fantastic, do your thing, and I think it was another great final. And of course, it was more difficult for me because the crowd was against me, but also makes you a stronger and better player, and you have to deal with it and you have to perform.
We're coming into a very important part of the season, the Grand Slam, the Players' Championship finals, and the World Championship coming up. You're going into those in some really good form.
Yeah, I do. and with the biggest backpack full with confidence. So I hope I can use that. Of course, things like that helps. Yeah, definitely.
A backpack of confidence, what's that?
Well, whatever it is, I'm buying one.
Me too.
Yeah, I think he just knows how much confidence he's building up over the last few weeks, and he knows how important the next 6 to 8 weeks are for his season and for his career to cement how good he's been this year. But he just played better than everybody else in Glasgow, and to beat someone like Gary Anderson, who always steps up against him, I just feel that Michael's got enough in the locker right now to fit the backpack in it, really.
Yeah. And it makes you excited for the World Series next year, Dan?
Yeah, it certainly does. It will be slightly altered. At the minute, they're going to go down to 6 events, and Brisbane's going to be the new one. So MVG will be taking his confidence backpack to somewhere new to delight more darts audiences.
Well, one title that Michael van Gerwen hasn't won is the World Youth Championship title. Now, the qualifiers were held earlier this month, and it gave 64 players a chance to book their spot in the final. And we were there to catch up with some of the rising stars of the future.
Here we are at the PDC Unicorn 2017 World Youth Championships. We've got 64 players. We've got 20 countries represented here today. A lot of prize money, £10,000 for the winner. The 2 finalists will play live on ITV4 during the Minehead Players Championship Finals, and also the 2 finalists will also qualify for next year's Grand Slam of Darts, so a lot to play for.
It's the World Championship of the Youth. It means the top 64 players, well, top 48 and international players, all talents, all good, all believers, otherwise you wouldn't be in here. So it's going to be a tough day, but who knows? I hope it's my day, but we'll see.
It'd be the flake on the cake, really, for me. Obviously, it's going to be tough. There's a lot of good players here, but hopefully, if I play my own game, there's no difference. I can get to the final.
Yeah, it feels very great. I tried to defend my title last year, but unfortunately, I lost to this guy 6-5, who lost the following round to Corey Cadby, who turned the World Youth Champion. So the standard here is amazing.
I definitely won't be favourite. There's a lot of other big players in here. Well, you wouldn't be able to pick a winner in here, to put it that way.
Hopefully a German final. As long as the title stays in Germany, I think we are happy. So I'm looking forward to the tournament. I had a great year. Yeah, why not a World Championship in the youth?
The day started with a big shock in the first game on board 1, where #1 seed Benito van der Pas lost 6-5 to Jeffrey de Zwaan. The big names continued to fall, with ex-champion Max Hopp going out in the last 16, a round that contained 5 last-leg shootouts out of 8. The PDC big hitters were also there watching the possible stars of the future. Josh Payne made it through to Minehead, winning eventually 6-3 against last year's champion, Corey Cadby. The other semi-final was Dimitri Vandenberg against Luke Humphreys. Luke missed a dart at the bull to win, before Dimitri found tops to take it 6-5.
Wow, this game just against Luke Humphreys in the semis to qualify myself today. He just is a fighter like I know, and that's how Josh is as well, always a fighter, and we're young, we're the future. I honestly believe we're the future.
We both played really good games there. Me and Corey had a game there which I was quite far ahead, but won't go into that. I've had a tough few games going into that one, and obviously Dimitri's had the same games. We always have good games, so I look forward to playing him in Minehead.
Wow, all of a sudden I'm in the final of the World Championship Youth 2017. I'm like, whoa, there are no words for that.
Well, a successful event for a player that we've already mentioned, Dimitri Vandenberg.
Yeah, Dimitri Vandenberg is a phenomenal dart player. He's shown in the senior ranks over the last couple of years that he has real consistency and talent and progression. But in the World Youth Championships, he really did stamp his authority. And he only just got to the final with an incredible game against Luke Humphreys in the semi-finals, where Luke missed 1 dart to beat him. But Dimmy was a little bit too strong for him. But we have to say that Luke Humphreys has had an incredible development to our season. He won the Order of Merit, so he's got a tour card, so we will see him next year. We will see him at the World Championships, because that was one of the other little carrots at the end of the rod. And as far as we're concerned with Dimitri now, he probably will go into the final as a slight favourite because of his current form. But we're not going to see him playing against Corey Cadby, are we, Dan?
No, we are not going to see him against Corey Cadby. And Corey Cadby's not even going to make the World Championship. He had 3 goes to get there. There's a lot of noise about Corey. He's done some very special things on big stages. But he didn't win the Australian domestic rankings, didn't top that. He didn't win the Oceanic Masters, the qualifying event for the Worlds. This was his last shot, and he went out in the semi-finals to Josh Payne. And we know Josh Payne is a very serious dart player. He won a senior title last year. He has come through an extremely strong field. You look at some of the players there. I mean, Justin Van ter Houwe we haven't even mentioned, as well as various others. Incredibly strong field. Huge achievement for both Josh and Dimitri to make the final, and it will be pretty exciting stuff when they're duking it out in Minehead to be a world champion, albeit at the youth level.
All these players trying to build a successful career for themselves, but they'd have to go some to match the career of 3-time world champion. On our Legends feature this month, it's John Lowe.
The legend, John Lowe!
I got into darts by pure fate. I was racing motorcycles, and one day it was snowing really bad when I was off to the racetrack. I couldn't get there. So I came back, called in a pub, and 4 guys were playing darts in the pub. And one of them went to the toilet, and he turned around to me and said, "Do you play darts? Take my throw." So I took his throw, and when he come back, he said, "Oh, you seem to be doing okay, just carry on." And that's how it all started. I didn't get involved in a local league straight away, because I was doing other things, you know, and I was working really hard. I'm a joiner by trade then. And then I started playing for fun. And before I knew where I were, I was playing 5 days a week. And at the end of the season, I'd only win a Japanese alarm clock or a tea service or something like that. Nothing really, but that didn't matter. It was good and enjoyable. That's exceptional. That's all 3. This was really where darts started on TV. £2,500 was a lot of money for the winner in them days. The BDO was formed in, I think, 1980. And I joined with them and became, before I knew where I was playing for England. I'd won the British Open, won the World Masters, and then won the News of the World, all within a year. So in a way, as darts progressed, I did as well. This is the Embassy World Professional Trophy. You have to win 3 times to get it. Eric's got one, Barney's got one, and I've got one. So there's only 3 people got one. Obviously, I'm always proud of that, very proud, you know. Life in the BDO was all right for the simple reason there was only the BDO. There was no competition. They formed the England team, they put the first world rankings together, which I'm very pleased about because I was the first world #1. This is the story of the 9-dart game, 1984, 13th of October, Slough Leisure Centre, 2:45 raining. I'll never forget that.
He wants 141. Looks like he's going for 317s. Yes. It's Revel 18, his next target. Yes, he wants 2 18s for £100,000. He has done it! A moment of darting history! The first ever televised 9-dart 501!
A lot of people comment the way I went, which was treble 17, treble 18 and double 18. Nobody's ever done it that way since. And I heard people say, "You went the wrong way." I said, "Oh, fine." I went the wrong way. First night to ever do it and I went the wrong way? I don't think so. With the BDO, sponsors started to pull out. And then TV companies started taking a closer look and they were going to step out. And we finished it with just 2 tournaments, the World Masters and the World Championship. So we couldn't live on that. So we talked to the BDO and they listened, but did nothing. When we did make the split, and we honestly thought we wouldn't get through it, we'd no money for prize money. You're thinking, well, why did we have to go through all this? If the BDO would have listened, it would have been okay. But now we look back again, and the lads of today think, thank God the BDO didn't listen, because there wouldn't be the money that's in it now, you know. So I think it was just fate again, deciding on where the game was going to go. It's no longer about winning Japanese alarm clocks, it's about winning £100,000, which is a very good payday. If we hadn't have broke away from the BDO, this wouldn't have happened. The lads who are not doing it anymore, we should just say, well, at least we've contributed more than money. We've contributed something to the sport that it's carrying on today, and I think that's important.
John Lowe really was a legend of the game.
Yeah, I think sometimes legend is overused as a term in sport, but you can't really quibble with John Lowe being given that title. And the thing is, that throw, you were saying when we were watching it, it's not really changed much, and it is smooth as silk. When you ask professional dart players whose throws they admire, what you should copy if you're starting out, there's always two answers. One is Steve Beaton and one is John Lowe, and it looks like he can still throw a dart.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was playing at a very high standard when he chose to retire. He does a lot of exhibitions now, but if you look at the CV of John Lowe, it's incredibly impressive. Not just a three-time world champion, but he won world titles in 3 different decades, 70s, 80s and 90s, and he saw a career span way past what other people were doing. And he was an England player, he got more caps than most have in their careers, and an England captain. And I just firmly believe that he is one of the people that we'll be talking about still in the next 50, 60 years.
And it's quite interesting to see the difference in prize money from his generation to now.
Yeah, it has changed. It's chalk and cheese. I know some of the old guys look at the young players coming into the game with a little bit of envy or jealousy with the amount of money they're earning, certainly. But when you've got the titles and the trophies that John Lowe's got, I don't think you need to be insecure about what you've done in the game, to be honest.
No, you certainly don't. Well, John played both BDO and PDC darts, and an event that brings both the organisations together is the Grand Slam. Now, join Dan and I after the break. We'll be in Wolverhampton to see who'll be crowned champion of the Grand Slam 2017. We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to the Dart Show. Now, it's a calm before the storm here at the Wolverhampton Civic Hall as we're getting ready and setting up for the final tonight. It is Peter Wright versus Michael van Gerwen. Now, there's 11 years of history in this tournament with BDO players and PDC players coming together.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of things that make the B-Win Grand Slam of darts unique. You've got a group stage format in the early rounds, and that means you can lose a game. You can lose 2 and make it through to the knockout stages. But the whole point about the Grand Slam is getting the 2 codes together and getting them to face off, the BDO and the PDC. Of course, we see BDO players play at the UK Open, but this is a little bit different. 1 BDO player per group, and this week, of course, Glenn Durran has been the standout performer. He's played some fantastic stuff. He's the only person so far this week to beat Peter Wright, and he's been excellent right the way through the tournament.
Yeah, he certainly has. Well, we managed to catch up with him earlier this week.
Good morning. Come on in. It's the Grand Slam this weekend. Really excited, so yeah, it's a big, big day for me. I'm from the northeast of England, and sort of when I was growing up, the whole culture was sort of workingmen's clubs. But I was a very good billiards player, and that was my background. And then sort of one day we were playing a team called the Billingham Social, and we were 1 short. So I'd thrown a couple of darts. My brother was a really, really good darts player. And when I won that match, I'd never had that excitement in billiards before. So, you know, by then I was hooked with a game of darts. But like many people, you know, I met my wife, you know, started a family, bought a property, and I didn't throw a dart age 19 to age 29. And sort of since 2008, you know, that's when I've really took the game sort of seriously, and here, you know, I stand here this year as the BDO World Champion. I have been celebrating that trophy maybe a little bit too much, and I worked out at the World Masters this year that match player-wise, I wasn't in the same shape as I was last year. But I can assure you the past 4 weeks it's been head down. I feel like I'm peaking exactly at the right time now because it's the busiest time of the year for us. I think what I'd like to show you is you know, something that sort of inspires me sometimes when I'm feeling a little bit down with the game, and they're my actual lakeside winning darts. So I keep them in the case, and sometimes I just look at them just to remind me of, you know, what I have achieved. But I'm still striving for excellence. I'm still trying to get that extra 5% in my game, and my sponsors have come up with a new fantastic dart now, which I'm about 4 to 5 weeks in now, 4 to 5 hours a day practicing with them. It's based on the results I've had the past month to be using with the Grand Slam today. I've never made it a secret. I want to go to the PDC. If anything, politics and the Lakeside title got in the way of that. I'm trying to get the balance right of being respectful to the BDO because they've been very good to me and I'm an extremely proud champion. But at my age now, there's only one further challenge for me. You know, I've climbed that mountain. I want to play in the PDC. If it's a school exam, then I've done my revision really well. You know, I've practiced hard. I've been meticulous in peaking at the right time of the year. But you're catching me now 3 hours before I play. I'm extremely nervous. You know, this is the place to be. You know, when I just look around there now, and the goosebumps are on my arms already. But I'm here to do a job. I'm the BDO World Champion, and I feel like there's a responsibility there. And my family and friends are here. And look, for once in my life, this one's for me. I'm going to really give it my best. I'm playing a huge personality in Peter Wright, a guy that made me feel so welcome here last year, and I've remained friends with him. It's a great opportunity, and I want to use that.
Glenn Durrant there nearly put in one of the standout performances this week in the quarterfinals against Peter Wright. He just missed that 9 darter, he missed the double 12.
He did. It was very nearly the perfect leg from Glenn Durrant, and the way he's talking there, it may not be very long before he is making the switch to the PDC. He's got the darts, he's a likeable character, and I think he could quite easily be rubbing shoulders with these guys on a more regular basis and doing himself justice.
Yeah, now another player that stood out this week, maybe not for the right reasons, Barry Van Peer with his dartitis. It was so difficult to watch.
It was agonising at times to watch Barry Van Peer. If you don't know what it is, it's a mental condition. Players have an inability, or they struggle to release the dart, and it played havoc with his game. I think I speak for everybody when I say we want to see Barry get over this and get back to playing the darts we know he's capable of, because he's won a lot of fans with his performances. It's just how he went about it. He was in tears on a number of occasions over the course of this week, but he still battled on, and I, for one, have been very impressed.
Yeah, it says a lot about his character. Now let's also talk about Rob Cross and Michael Van Gogh, and what a match.
Yeah, well, what 2 matches they were. Rob Cross missed 2 darts to beat him in the group stages, and then he gave him a real good go in the quarter-finals. Every single month we seem to be talking about Rob Cross just surpassing expectations. He's a European Championship finalist. That's what got him into this tournament, and he continues to go from strength to strength. He is not that far away from MVG, 102 average, and when you look at the best players in the world right now, forget about the world rankings. Rob Cross only started out at the start of this year. He is one of the best players in the world. He's going to be a threat in Minehead, where he's the top seed, and I think he's going to be a threat at the World Championship as well.
Yeah, and he'll certainly be full of confidence. Now let's talk about the semi-finals that we've just seen earlier on. Phil Taylor won't be too happy today.
Well, Phil Taylor hasn't seemed happy all week, really, has he? I mean, he had a go at Darryl Gurney for not celebrating enough. He had a go at Michael Van Gogh for celebrating too much. But ultimately, MVG doled out a bit of a hiding, 106 average and a convincing win in the semi-finals. His unbeaten streak at this tournament goes on. It was the other semi that is an absolute classic, though. Gary Anderson had it all sewn up. There was only one winner against Peter Wright when he went 14-8 up. He only needed 2 more legs. He couldn't get them. Peter Wright has won 8 of the last 9 in one of the best comebacks we have ever seen at this tournament. He won it in the last leg decider and somehow finds himself in the final of this tournament and giving himself a chance of winning the Grand Slam for the first time in his career.
Well, hopefully we'll have a storming performance. Peter Wright versus Michael Van Gogh in the final.
Can Michael Van Gogh win a 3rd consecutive Grand Slam crown? Or can Peter Wright in his first Grand Slam final take the title? Nervy, edgy, opening leg of the final. Breaker throws 3-2 in front for the defending champion. Wright is doing everything he can here.
That is an absolutely fabulous finish.
The centrepiece, we have a level game.
Fantastic finish from Michael Van Gogh. Now he's got a 2-leg lead. The world champion has daylight.
Tops. Wow. Madhouse.
Double 16, and it's a hat-trick of Grand Slam titles for Michael Van Gogh. The world #1 is wonderful in Wolverhampton once more.
We're here in the practice room at the Wolverhampton Civic with Michael Van Gogh, who's just retained yet another title this month.
Yes, I did. So I'm really glad I won. Was a difficult tournament this time. I had to play really well.
It might not have been the best final in terms of your standard, but it was a great one to watch. 10-all with Peter, never more than a leg between you, but you always feel
like you've got a session where you can take the game away from your opponent?
Yeah, of course. You need to believe also in yourself that you got that in your game. But it was a strange game because normally I'm always playing really well against Peter, and normally I'm very confident. But for some reason, it was different tonight. Then, but still won. But it was more difficult for myself to concentrate my game and to keep my level there.
I've got to ask you about the semi-final. Look, that's where we saw a really sparkling display from you. How satisfying was it to come up with that big win against Phil Taylor?
It's always nice to have a big win against Phil Taylor. Phil Taylor he's a legend. What he's done for the sport and what he still does, it's amazing, because on a 57 year of age, he still is capable of throwing 100 averages game by game, and they need to do something special against him. I'm really glad I did that tonight, and yeah. Well, yeah, it was a good game.
Let's take a look at the order of merit then as it stands after the Grand Slam. Now, every month we say Michael van Gerwen is sitting very comfortably at the top, but Peter Wright...
Also very comfortable in this chair, don't worry.
Well, exactly. We provide everything here on the Dart Show, don't we, Dan? But Peter Wright sitting comfortably now at that world number 2 spot. I
think that is significant because he and Gary have been having this battle for the number 2 spot behind Michael all the way through the year, and it's one guy's had it, another guy's had it.
But to be fair, to interrupt, Peter Wright plays every tournament, what's on the calendar, and Gary Anderson doesn't.
That is true. However, he's 50 grand clear now, and he did it by beating Gary in that unreal semi-final. And wins for Peter against Gary in big TV tournaments, they've been few and far between, so it did feel quite a significant result here today in Wolverhampton. 2 other big names we've got to mention, we've mentioned these before, Adrian Lewis and James Wade. So much money, particularly Adrian, that he's defending the back end of the year. Michael van Gerwen's face will tell you that he is in danger of dropping.
Yeah, of course he's in danger at the moment, because he didn't play all the tournaments this year. He refused to go to qualification. I don't know if he could do it or had other things on his calendar, but now he's going to face the rankings, and that's cost him a few places. And I don't, of course, without a shadow of a doubt, he's got a lot of talent, maybe the most talented players there is, but he needs to start using it now. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah, certainly a lot of pressure on Adrian anyway, but as the man himself says, we know what his talent is and what he could do, but he's going to have to do it at the back end of the year.
And we've still got 2 more major championships left to come this year. Here's what's coming up over the next month. The Players' Championship finals are staged in Minehead, but all eyes are on the big one, the World Championship at Alexandra Palace. So the Players' Championship up next in Minehead. Now, your first match is up against the Dart Show's very own Paul Nicholson. How do you feel about that, Michael?
Well, I know Paul quite well, and we share the same management, so yeah. He also texted me today to wish me good luck, so that's quite nice of him, but I still want to beat him, of course, next week. Of course you do. Paul's not in his best form of his life, but it's only a short format, so I need to make sure I'm also getting prepared for Paul Nicholson, simple as that. And he also won a major before. Not many people can tell that, so I'm gonna do exactly what I do also to prepare a game for Phil Taylor.
Yeah, and every player is going to be gunning for you, Michael, aren't they?
Of course, they try 200% all the time, but not only in that tournament, they do that everywhere. So I'm already used to that pressure and that kind of game they always play with me, so I don't really care. Then
you move on to the next competition, the World Championship. We know how important that one is to you. You said in the past you'd get rid of all your other trophies for all of the competitions if it meant you could have that World Championship title.
That's the most important one, and you fight all year to get in a good form, especially around this time. It's nice to catch up form, so that's what I'm doing. But it's you want to perform well there, and last year I had phenomenal games. You could see everyone was trying also 200% to play good against me. If Christo, Rice, Raymond, Gary Anderson in the final, everyone was playing good against me. But somehow I managed to play better than them, and yeah, I just want to do exactly the same as last year, but it's going to take some doing, I know that.
Well, I tell you what, Michael, we cannot wait to watch. Well, that's all we have time for on the Dart Show for this month. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.